Okay. Hello everyone. This is Velero community meeting on November 23rd. First, let me do some status update. For 1.9.3, we have GA8 on November 11. And for V 1.10, we are planning to create the RC2 today, November 23rd. And we have made some very small changing and some new testing cases. So we want to wait and monitor the pipeline today. I mean the nightly pipeline today, and if everything is okay, we will create RC2. And for the next release, we 1.11, we are reviewing the candidates. I mean, for all the issues that we think it is valuable and suitable to make it into the next release. We will put the candidate labels into them. And of course, on top of that, the data movement is with a high priority. And for individual update, myself is preparing 1.10 release, and also we have started another turn of manual tests and have done some manual tests after RC1. That's from my side. And Xin.
My part is post RC1 manual test, and that's all.
Okay, thanks. And Daniel.
Yeah, I had to fix some issues regarding documentation to make sure that's merged into 110. In addition, yeah, I'm working on the 111 planning with the team. So.
Okay, thanks. And Danfeng.
My part is I've been working on a post FC1 manual test and do some nightly on 1.10. That's all for me.
Okay, thanks. And Scott.
Yeah, so I've updated the item action plugin design based on some of the discussion a couple of weeks ago to kind of add some flexibility around different plugins in terms of being able to report progress in bytes or other units. So we added a field for units. We renamed the fields to make it less ambiguous around that because it was confusing before with items to complete and what are items and then we also added a description field because there may be some plugins that aren't able to give their progress in a percentage basis. Maybe they're interacting with an external controller that just has uploading phase and cleanup phase or whatever, just some text descriptions, and so that can be placed into that text field, the description. And if a plugin is not using the numerical progress, then those will just be left blank, so they'll be 0. So it'll say 0, 0, meaning we have no information, in terms of progress, but there will be that description field available. I have also updated the API design PRs to reflect that one change as well. Again, let's get the overall design wrapped up and approved first, and then we can look at the individuals, and I'll make any other changes as needed. Those 3 PRs are a lot smaller, focusing more on the protobuf API instructs. So I think once the major design PR is merged, those should be a lot easier to review and kind of go through.
Yeah, we have resolved most of the comments, and I think I have 1 or 2 regarding the cancel. I'll go through them today, and
okay,
hopefully
yeah, that's fine. And cancels was one we haven't talked about as much, so there may be some room to make changes there as needed. And I linked the other ones there mainly because I did make the changes as around the operation progress. But again, let's focus on the main one first, because once that's approved and we got all the changes in, and then those get updated, I think those more detailed API specific designs should be relatively straightforward to review and get going on.
Yeah, I think after the clarifications, I think overall I'm good with the design. Thanks for your
Okay.
patience, Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries. And then, like I said, if there's additional comments you have on council, we can talk about that. If there's anything else needed there, but we can go through that.
So you will be taking a few days off around the end of this week, right? Due to the
Yeah,
Thanksgiving?
the US offices. So we have Thursday and Friday as holidays. So I'm here so tomorrow, for me, so I have one more day this week. I'm here.
see.
So anything you get to today, I can respond to tomorrow. And then I'll next be back on Monday.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So not a long holiday, but just 2 days off at the end of the week.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Scott.
Sure.
And do we have any other things to update from anyone? If not, let's go to the discussion section. The first one is it's about the 2 data moment issues. So as I just mentioned, for way 1.11, the data moment is still with the top priority. So we discussed it locally, and we discussed it locally. So I created 2 issues about the discussion for the missing part of the design that maybe we are not currently covered. So maybe we can cover in 1.11. The first one is a data path. That is how we move the data for Velero's data moment. And for example, here we have listed some questions that need to be covered in the design. And for example, after snapshot is taken, how to expose the snapshot to the data moment pod, and how many snapshots will be exposed to one data moment pod. That will decide the parallel. What is a parallel processing like? And after that, how do we call the copier uploader and call the unified repo and then write the data? That should be something covered in the unified repo design, but we need to clarify it overall from this new scenario, and also for the file system data moment, how do we organize the data in the repository, and how do we connect or initialize the repo before the backup restore. And also we have another besides the file system data moment, we will also create the block level data moment. So I believe this will be in a dedicated design, but we need to mention it in the current in the next design, and also leave an open door to it in the design. And the resource part is similar to the backup part. That is for the data path of the data moment. And the other thing is something like that. We think it's better to create a generic solution to for the resource that we can restore all the volumes in one unified way. For example, for the very brief steps, we can we first create a workload pods to be resolved, and then we need to prevent the PVs, or let the system, the Kubernetes system, prevent PV, or we create the PV ourselves, and then we hold the workflow pods, and then expose the pods to the data mover, with the expose the PVs to the data movement pods. And here we may have two candidates. Like the pod volume backup, we access the pods on the host, that is through the host path, or we attach the pod, the PVs to be resolved to the data movement pod. And then inside the data movement pod, we call the related uploader to copy the data from the backup repository, and finally we release the workload pod, and the result will be finished. That is a very brief steps, and we have quite lots of details to cover if we want to go to this approach. And currently there are maybe two candidate approaches to fulfill this or implement this generic volume restore. The first one is we create our own way. That should be something similar to the current pod volume backup, pod volume restore. Merely the pod volume restore is using the first method, that is through the host path. And that will require the root privilege. And the other candidate is a cumulative volume populator. This is still in the beta phase of this feature. So if we take this method, it means we will only support the newer versions of the Kubernetes. So why do we want this generic volume restore? So some reasons, some benefits. The first one is this solution could work for all kinds of backup. For example, the CSI backup and pod volume backup, and also we may create some direct access backup. For example, we read data directly from the AWS EBS API, and then create the restore. And this for this kind of backup, we can also use this generic restore. So any kind of backup, and we will add in the future. The second one is because this generic volume restore doesn't rely on any underlying storage snapshot mechanism. For example, we will for CSI snapshot, we will not need to create the CSI volume snapshot content and volume snapshot objects. So it is clear, and we don't Velero don't need to maintain that object. And also we don't need to leave that object in the in user's production environment after restore. And finally, for the same reason, because it doesn't rely on any underlying storage snapshot mechanism, theoretically it supports a heterogeneous restore. That is, we can back up in one environment and restore it in a very different friend, 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 friend.
Yeah, seems Yonghui have some problem about his microphone. So
Friend, friend,
yeah.
friend, friend,
Yonghui.
friend, 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 friend,
Yonghui, we hear your voice still
friend, friend, friend,
broken.
friend,
I think
friend, 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 friend.
Hello? Can you hear me
yeah,
now?
we can hear you now, Yonghui. Hey, Yonghui. I think now the voice is good.
Okay, sorry. So I have almost done the introduction for these two issues. So I'm not sure if you have started the discussion. So are there any questions? Or I think I just want to make a start for this two I mean issues or requirement for the data movement. We can make the discussion anytime offline, or if we want, we can revisit this in the next community meeting. But right now, if we have some questions, we can start here.
So as for the generic volume restore, I'm not sure how can we make sure it works for all the snapshot, or if we rely on the volume populator, we are more confident, right?
Yeah, actually, it's the volume underlying the volume populator works in the same way as the first approach. I mean the way we create in our own by ourselves, because it's just something like the above the steps like this. The volume populator just help us to do this 2 points: on hold the workload and release the workload, and also it transfers helps transfer the right or access to the populator plugin or populator library that will do the data copy. So it helps us to to implement these steps more easier, but we will have to wait for it's ready in Kubernetes.
So this is more of a general comment. I don't have detailed feedback here at this point, but I know Shubham had produced a PR for a design around kind of a high level kind of discussion around design for data movement that I think focused more on the CSI use case. I don't know if you've looked at that one to see if this is going to be something that's in addition to that, or would this also meet those requirements? It's a pull request number 4768. It hasn't been changed much recently, but I think the original pull request was from maybe back in March. Yeah, it was in March. And Shubham's not in the office this week, so he's actually gone until 10th of December. And I'm sure he'll be interested in looking at this design when he does return.
So Shubham will continue working on the data movement part, right?
That was the thinking, and we I guess there's two things. We have a kind of interim data mover solution on the as part of OADP that's built on top of Velero, but not obviously upstream. And then we the hope is eventually to rely on upstream in Velero functionality, and then we wouldn't need that long term. And I think that was kind of part of what was driving his original design doc that was posted in that PR. But again, but yeah, he's going to be back in the office, I think, on the 10th of December. So he's not here for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think given the current status, there's quite a few questions we are not clear. I believe we want to combine. If that's a great news, if Shubham will be continuing on this part, I think we will work with him and combine the effort to make sure there's only one design.
Yeah, exactly. That was my concern, is to make sure that if there's two different things here, we kind of get everything covered, and if there's use cases that that his approach solves and this isn't, that we need to find a way that kind of resolves all that. Because obviously the CSI snapshot use case has got different needs versus the native snapshots versus Copia, and so it's just a question of figuring out the best way forward with all of those use cases in mind. Yeah,
I think the priority is the same. I think the first issue we want to handle, specific or concrete one, is the CSI. Yeah, but Yonghui is talking about some idea that we don't need to create the PV in order to restore it. We can just move the data into a PV and things are done. I think that may work.
So I think these two issues or these two design, it's exactly complying with the requirement PR that has been merged or submitted by Shubham. And this is some sub work items. That is, we make a concrete design for the requirement. That I think that is the relationship. And it definitely the two ideas work for all kind of data movement. So it will work for the CSI data movement. And then we will. I think maybe when Shubham comes back, and we will discuss to create some more dedicated work item designs like these two ones. For example, how we create and start the backup data movement controller. I think that has been covered by the demo that has been demonstrated by Shubham a couple of months ago. So, and we will have some more design, the sub item designs, and besides these two ones, for example, the backup controller and something like that. And finally, we have the requirement PR, and we have the sub item design PR, and then we will be able to start work. I think that is the relationship. It doesn't have any confliction with the existing our current work of the data movement. And slightly different is here. I think this one is slightly different with the demo. from Shubang, and that the result will not require on the CSI snapshot. And that part, I think when Shubang comes back, we can have more discussions and to decide, whether it's suitable to use this kind of idea. That's something like that.
Yeah, so these issues are more like memo that we want to make sure we answered all the questions raised in these issues.
Yeah, this one is yeah, and this one we will need to have more discussion, and because that is approach selection. We use the CSI way, or we use a generic way, right? Okay. So let's continue this discussion and offline, and especially when Shubang comes back, and maybe we we want, for example, we can create some design and in the way 1.11, not only these two ones, but all the sub items that is required by the data movement, right? And then we make things to be concrete, and then we can start the coding or work after 1.11. Consider the time frame of consider 11. We may not be able to implement all the sub items, but we think the sub item should be very clear in 1.11. That is the idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, that's from my part. And so the next one, Daniel.
Yeah, the next one I want to discuss with, given Shubang, I want to discuss with Scott that I thought you guys mentioned you want a relatively short release in 1.11 to make sure the item, the progress monitor is delivered sooner, right? So do you have any?
Yeah, I mean that was kind of the main thinking. Just kind of at a high level of, if we're talking about, because I know one thing that we talked about recently was about we want to get to the point where we're having 3 Velero releases a year, so that's about 4 months per cycle, but that's not always going to be exactly the same. And so if this is going to be one that might be a little bit shorter than that, that would be good in our case, just because we're going to be given that the full data mover is not completely in place and all that yet, the data mover that we're building as part of OADP on top of Velero is going to be, we need that item action progress work so that we don't have to block, on the backup and restore, while we're waiting for those uploads and things to finish. And so that's kind of what our thinking was, if we could scope the release to certainly include that and whatever else, we fit into in the right time frame, but that it would be better to get the release out relatively quickly rather than adding a whole bunch of extra scope and dragging it out longer.
So do you have any deadline in your mind or any proposed date? I used to think we want to have it like February, early March, but
yeah,
Pradeep, the PM, told us that you are also okay in April or May. So I think February or March is better, right?
Yeah, I should probably need to talk to Dylan about that, because he's clear on kind of product deadline sides of things, and I'm not as much up on that at this point. But I can talk to Dylan, and we can either get back to you offline or next meeting, or pretty relatively soon though. About that.
Yeah. Please follow up with Dylan, and we will continue with the internal planning with assumption that we want to deliver it in a shorter release. Then. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And anything else we want to discuss? Okay. So if no, I think we can finish up here today. And thanks for attending, and have a good day and a good evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Enjoy your holiday, Scott. Bye.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Bye bye.
Bye.